Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a great week 4. Happy Monday. Uh, it's nice to kind of check in with you a little bit. So I just wanted to spend some time and go over a few things and talk about our work this week. So seems like most of you were able to turn in your first essay, which was due on Sunday by midnight. So I will start, looking through those this next week and the week after. It'll take me a little bit of time to get through them. I have over 200 essays to read, so give me a little time to get looking at them. But as I grade them, I will put comments on them and let you know what I think. And then, of course, as I sent you guys an announcement, all of the papers within the class are revisable. So if you get your grade back and then you would like to revise, you just have to reach out to me and email me and let me know, and then we can make that happen. So thank you for those of you who turned it in. And if you didn't turn it in, it would be great if you could contact me and let me know, because the zeros will automatically show up in the grade book here pretty quickly. And then we'll just have to remove them out if you talk with me and we can get that turned in. The other thing I wanted to talk with you really quickly, I'm in my office on campus, so it's a little weird and I'm talking a little quieter because I'm not really sure what's happening with my colleagues around. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is this week's work, which is The Freedom Riders, the movie with, and hopefully you're gonna like that. I'm gonna share screen for a second so I can just kind of read what it says on the website about the Freedom Riders. So this week it's a movie. Yay, you got to do a movie. I think that'll be fun. And it's about, Aaron Gruel, who is a teacher at Woodrow Wilson High School in Long Beach. And it's a little older now, but I think it's still relative. And of course, she has non-existing resources. The kids are really struggling. And maybe we won't find ourselves in these exact situations, but I do find myself in similar places with students all the time. So I'm hoping that some of these circumstances that you see Erin in, it will help you within your own classroom. So everyone's going to watch the movie. They're going to complete a blog or a vlog. And then I have in here, reflect upon some of your classroom experiences where you encountered an issue or a problem as a student, or it could be as a student teacher if you're in a classroom right now. And maybe there was a lack of support, maybe there was a lack of resources, maybe there was a lack of clarity in the work. What made the classroom or didn't make the classroom work? These are some questions I have in here. And of course, these blogs are reflective in nature. I'm going to stop sharing here for a second and talk with you for a few more minutes. So, I think some of the stuff that's really interesting with Aaron Gruel and this classroom and the Freedom Riders is that Erin Gruel is an extremely smart teacher. I mean, she wasn't really, she was a new teacher, right? So she wasn't necessarily entrenched in the ways of teaching, but she was able to see where her students were coming from and their lives and what they were, looking at and handling. And she was able to then connect it with them as a person. And she was able to take ideas like reading and writing and connect it back to them to make it important for them, to give them to allow them to be stakeholders within the classroom, right? That they had a voice. It gave them a voice. It allowed them to see other people who were disenfranchised. She uses the Diary of Anne Frank and the Holocaust, and it really inspires these kids because they see people who, have been abused and disenfranchised and have no choice, and that's how they feel, right? So it's a really important thing to start to think about how to connect with your students. And you may not have a classroom where this applies, but connecting with your students will always apply, right? Trying to find out how you're going to interest them, what's going to be of value in them, how you can engage them in the classroom. It's super important. And I think that's what the beauty of this movie is, right? Is that Erin steps outside of the boundaries and the normal behaviors of a teacher, and she really goes to battle for these kids, and they really need it. These kids need someone to be their champion, right? And I think we encounter that all the time with students. We need We see students that need champions, right? That need somebody to support them. There is curriculum that we want them to understand, but the curriculum is meaningless if it's not connected to some sense of intrinsic value for them as people. Um, Reading and writing for me, this is what I teach, education classes on how to teach reading and writing. They become useless if it's a job, right? Going back to Jenny Nelson, reading classrooms as text. If it's just a product and not a process, then there's really no value in it for the person. But if you can connect to them and you can figure out a way that makes the material relate, then something magical can really happen within a classroom. So I'm asking you to think about this narrative. I mean, there's so many connections, right? With the other material that we've looked at, I already mentioned Jenny Nelson, but if you think about Kakari, we want to work with our friends and, segregating us out by people who look like us. I mean, that's happening definitely in Erin's classroom too, and she has to break down those barriers of people working with people that seem different. So there's so many connections with all the material that we've looked at, so far. If I go back to theoretical foundations, this idea of choice or giving students a say in what their education is and what's important to them. I mean, that's there too. There's tons of things in here. So you can find a direction to go in with this movie. Think about past experiences that you'd like to have in your classroom. How are you going to foster engagement? What if you run up against obstacles of lack of resources or people that don't want to work together? Like, what are some ways that you can think about to, connect students, or what are you going to do in the classroom? What will be of value to you, and how will you work through some of those problems? You can't guess at what the problems will be, but you can start to think about, how do you facilitate relationships within a classroom? How do you make material exciting? If you're not a reader or writer, or you've struggled in those areas, how can you then make these materials accessible to your students, right? How can you engage them with it? I think these are super important questions. And especially if you aren't a reader and writer and it's not really your forte. Sometimes it's really hard to get excited about things that you don't feel that you're connected to. And then some of us just, are crazy readers and writers. And I never really considered myself a fabulous writer. I considered myself a reader first. My mom used to drop me off in the library when I was a little kid, not because she wanted to get rid of me, but because I would ask, she'd say, what do you want to do? And I go, I want to go to the library. And I would look for books to read. So I always kind of had that in me. But meeting students where they're at, and trying to connect with them and get them to connect with the work that they're doing so that they can be lifelong readers and writers, and that they're not afraid of it, right? I mean, so many students are afraid because of their experiences. So breaking down those barriers and making materials relatable to students is super important. So I hope that this movie with Erin Gruhl, it's Erin Gruhl's the teacher, but it's Hilary Swank who's the actor. Maybe you've seen it before, but I hope it inspires you and helps you to think about the classroom and how the classroom can work. That's my phone, but I'm gonna tell them I'm not answering. And I hope you're doing well. If you have any questions, go ahead and shoot me an email. And thank you for all the work that you're doing in the class. Have a great day.